Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries Live. And for those of you that listened to this morning's episode, you know who's on this screen. For those of you that did not listen to this morning's episode, well, we have before us Mr. Eric Asbeck. Eric, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here. What can I say? I love working with coaches, speakers, authors, and program leaders and helping them build a business aligned with their passion. Uh, once you do it, running a business, starting a business, building it is just not easy. It's not. But if you believe deeply in what you're working toward, it will sustain you during those rough spots. And so you hear it, but like put your finger on your passion, identify it, and go from there.
And I'm glad that you're sharing that because here's the thing that those of you that have already listened to this morning's episode, you already know that what Eric provides is an idea for entrepreneurs and small business owners or those that are just focusing on transitioning from their careers into doing something that they really love by giving you insight about how to align your passion and your values. Eric, tell us a little bit about how you help people that are seeking to do things different because there's a few entrepreneurs. They're in their business and they just got in their business because they just thought, this is the way I make money. But their heart isn't in it, their passion isn't in it, they are not aligned. How do you support them getting insight about that?
Well, it's funny. I kind of stumbled across this. Um, I was doing this kind of work for myself, but years ago so just to be honest with you, I keep failing retirement. This is like the third time I failed
My
retirement.
husband fails retirement also.
Yeah, it's like here I am. Look, I'm on a live stream, and it's like I could be retired, but I mean, how much can you stand sitting by the pool or playing golf? This is much more interesting to me. Anyway, but years ago, I had a business. When I first started a business, I wanted to help people who wanted to start a business figure out something that they would love to do and they could confidently deliver. And it's funny because one of my really close friends in a big mastermind that he and I had joined together, and he was like a rock star. And so the leader was having him get up on the stage and teach people about sales and this and that. And he was just cooking. And all of a sudden, he just started to get, I'd say, how you doing? And, first you get the long answers, but then down the line, it was just like this terse fine. And all of a sudden he disappeared. And I was like, well, and I'm thinking to myself, there's something really wrong here. So I finally tracked him down. I was like, what are you doing? And he said, I'm not really an entrepreneur. I feel like a fraud. And it's like, what have you been doing with yourself? And he says, well, I directed a high school musical, and I've been auditioning for singing theater parts on Broadway. He lives in New York. And he says, I'm just going to get myself a job. And in my mind, I'm calling BS on you on that. But it's like, I couldn't just say that to him because he was in that place. And it turns out I had work that I have my clients do to figure out what they love to do and could confidently deliver, and what they wanted for their life and their lifestyle. But looking at all the different areas and roles and relationships in their life, and like, what do you want? And so I made him go do that work. And he was a fast worker. Like in 48 hours, he came back with this email in caps. Holy cow, I am an entrepreneur. I'm like, well, duh. And then it took him a little bit longer to come back with the second part. But he said, I realize I have two non-negotiables. I have to have time for my acting, and I have to have time to be with my wife on the weekends when I'm not in rehearsals, because they're really tight. Actually, they're running a business together now, but at the time she was working in the corporate world. But nonetheless, he said, if those aren't in place, everything else falls apart. I'm like, cool, this is good. So I encouraged him to go back and talk to the mastermind leader, and he ended up doing coaching there. And he started to build a business, and everything was cooking along. And I talked to him 6 months later, and he said, well, I realized that this business is awesomeness. And if I just put my acting aside for 6 or 12 months, everything's cool. And I can make this thing really rocket. And then he said, then I heard your voice inside my head. It's like, well, you tried that before, and how'd that work out for you? And it's like, okay. He backed off, and he made sure he had time for his acting and his wife. And he built the business as he could within maintaining his other priorities. And he's doing great. And his business thrived. And then his wife ended up shifting out of her corporate role, and they're doing an HR business together. And it's just they're cooking with gas. But I tell you that story because it's like gravity. Mm-hmm. If you don't, you could pretend you're going to fly, but if you go up to even the second floor of a building and jump out and flap your arms, gravity is going to tell you that you are mistaken. And it's the same if you enter into a business without being really clear about your values and what you want, what calls to your heart to work with people on, and the kind of people you want to work with. And actually, it's really awesome if you can actually create a life purpose statement for yourself. It doesn't have to be the final word. It never is, but you write something just because you want to get it out on paper, kind of in the world, and start to respect that and build things up in alignment with that.
So let's pause, because you have unpacked a lot. And here's the thing that I love about the Red Alert Diaries Live. It's an expansion of the podcast episode. So for those of you that did not get the chance to listen to this morning's episode, this is an expansion of a story that he shared at the end. And for those of you that did listen, aren't you glad that you tuned in? So thank you for sharing that, because what I'm hearing from you is that for a lot of us, when we are moving towards building a business, growing our entrepreneurial mindset, when we are ready to spread our wings, if we're not grounded in who we really are, what our passions are, building a business there lets you know that when you do take the leap, you're taking the leap in faith that will help you truly soar. Because if you aren't sure about your passions and it's not anchored in your values, gravity will cause you to drop and plummet and make you think this is not the thing I'm supposed to do.
Right. That's right. And by the way, we're talking about business, but we're talking about life. Like, what do you want in a relationship? What do you want in terms of where you're living and how you're living in your lifestyle? What do you want in terms of your community? It goes on and on. It all is grounded in that first step.
And that's the piece.
And I know you work with people that are like going through divorce and some other challenges like that. And I was actually I was listening to a very interesting YouTube video just last night about affairs, people having affairs, and then what happens. And she has a lot of really awesome things to say. I don't remember her name or what the thing was, but the title. But she talked about a lot of stats and things like that. But she said that, and she, by the way, she's like she works closely with these kind of people, and that's her practice, right? And she said basically, when somebody has an affair and then it comes out, both people have just finished their first marriage. It doesn't mean that you're going to stop being married, but whatever's who you were being, each of you in that marriage up to that point is not there's something that pulled the person that strayed and the person that was on the other side of it. They weren't living their full true self. So it's an opportunity. I mean, you could split, And that's sort of the standard MO. Or you could say, great. So what's our second marriage going to look like?
But that takes a lot. So let's unpack that for a moment, because the
Yeah.
thing that I try to support my clients in doing is resetting, because I've had to reset plenty of times. And I went through a resetting with a first marriage.
Mhm.
Now, in that element, when you walk through that resetting mode, both people have to be in a decision that we can reset. And if one person makes a choice that, okay, I'm going to try to walk through this pattern with you. But if you don't get the reciprocation from the other person that we are really resetting, because what we fail to do often is define what does the reset look like, which is also what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs starting new businesses. What does this business really look like? So I'm glad that you share, because I'll
Well,
personally
actually,
make a
and let me just
session
add
with
to that,
steps.
because that's awesome what you just said, and that's like needed work. But the thing that happens is you have an identity in that relationship, just like you have an identity when you're in a job
Mhm.
or anywhere. Like you have that identity, and when an affair comes out, both of your identities are trashed. It's like it's who am I? What can I trust? What, even the person that had the affair, it's like it doesn't necessarily. It's like there's an identity crisis that happens, and so that kind of that reimagining the second marriage is really as much about saying, okay, who am I committed to becoming now? That is a break and shift from who I was before. I've lost a job where I was highly. I had many jobs where I was drawn from one to the next, right, and
Mhm.
never had a problem. I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time in the fall of 2008 when the market crashed and there was that long recession, and I got let go. And I was highly invested in my identity in that job, in that company. And it's like, who am I now?
That
I was
part.
completely ungrounded,
So let's
right?
talk about that part, because here's the thing about the identity, and both of us have this work that we do with individuals. Because I got married at 21. At 21 years old, Tanya just knew she knew who she was. But I discovered that marriage often gives you another element of the layers that are inside of your being, and not enough of us take the time to discover the deep enough layers of who we are. And if you never take the time to discover who you are at the core of your being, and you decide to bring someone else in on that foundation and you think you're building it, there are cracks and fissures and holes and dips, is what I typically share with my
Right.
clients, that you're experiencing in that moment. So the foundation that was the first marriage that you're talking about, you didn't really define that, because a lot of people got together because maybe your hurt
You,
mirrored my
we're
hurt
not
and we
taught
had a
we're
common
not taught that that's
understanding.
important.
Hmm.
And here's the
Or,
thing. Here's the thing.
uh-huh,
So you can go on because this is good, but I'm just going to tie it back to the first part of our conversation.
right.
So listen, you want to start a business? I really think that is awesome. And you want to have an impact and make a difference in people's lives or the world or both. Awesome. I really support that. However, if you skip step one,
Hmm.
like what are your values? What is it that you love to do? Who do you want to work with? What's your life purpose? If you don't really do the work there, then you're gonna have to do it sometime.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be like my buddy Sean was his name, where the wheels are falling off the bus and you implode and kind of pull the covers over your head. I mean, well, you can. I mean, and some people do that,
Oh,
and that's
people do.
fine, and that's your choice. I mean, and sometimes you just have to, right? I mean, sometimes you just
Exactly.
have to. But um, you can help yourself a lot in all of these different aspects of your life the more grounded you are, the more you know your deep self,
Yeah.
right? And 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 build from that. You have to dig a foundation. You
And that's
typically
the
don't
key
just
part.
build on you like most houses, you dig a foundation
That part.
and you
Exactly.
lay in the cinder blocks and pour the concrete. And then the house itself is like uh, uh, 2x4s and stuff like that that are built on top of that foundation. But you have to dig in order to get that starting point.
And that piece is how you were expanding earlier, the passion. So when we aren't clear about who we are, you're not really sure about where your passion is coming from. So like let's call it, my girlfriend said, it was my practice marriage. So in my practice marriage, I didn't know enough of the foundational pieces that I had. I picked up parts that were given to me from the books that I read, from the TV shows that I saw, from the people in my world that gave me different touch points about what they considered I should do in that relationship. I never define it. And a lot of us walk into relationships, create a marriage, start a family, and we never define it. Defining is the first point. And in that defining, that's where your values sit. That's where your passion lies. This part right here, let's expand to the next piece because you are sharing some pieces that you're walking through to help entrepreneurs, the gentleman that you were talking about. It was just an aspiration that he had. We can have aspirations of things that we like to build our business foundation on because both of us have built a second business because, I'm still working full time. And this on the side, supporting and helping divorcees gain insight about who they are is not my first business.
Yeah.
But I found out
It's not
that
your
my
day job.
passion, right, my
And I say
passion
that
was,
because when you talk to musicians,
uh-huh.
like they live for those nights of performing and the day job serves them to allow them to do that.
But for some individuals, how you align in your visions don't speak about to me. I know I'm a strategist. I'm built that way. My natural, logical, analytical mind works well in the business environment because it's better understood. When some of those pieces that I carry over in how I'm designed, I bring strategy with me as a support. Because when I went through the chaos of my divorce, that emotional warfare, I did not bring my brain with me. And you already know, because we are both developers in this one. Your brain does not follow you when your heart gets broken. You just follow the emotional warfare and you get stuck. You are brilliant in one area and you are failing in another area. And that disconnect gives you a bearing where it feels like you were saying, your friend, I'm a failure in this. So people that are trying to build businesses that are not totally connected with who they are, you feel that and you think that I'm a failure in this. So let's talk about what happens next. When you get someone to start locating step one, you got to tap into your values, build a firmer foundation. What is their step two that they should pay better attention to? Because we are having a great conversation. We're going to have to wrap it up a little bit.
Sure. Um, I'll tell you that I'll answer your question, but I also have a comment about how my divorce went.
Okay.
My my men's group buddy said you should write a book. You handled yours. It's like unlike anybody else. Anyway, um, once you're clear about your values and your life purpose, that's the first step. And then from there, that's when you start saying, who do I want to work with? And when I say that, it's not like, oh, well, this maybe is a growing segment based on market research or, like whatever you hear in trends.
Mhm.
No, who who is it that you would love to hang around with 24/7? Because like if you're really successful, you're going to build your business from you're going to do some one-on-one work, and then you're going to start to grow, and you're going to do a group thing, and you're going to have ideally like you'll have like if you're in a coaching business, at least you'll have a mastermind group and things like that, and you're going to be spending a lot of time with those folks, a
Exactly.
lot of time. So one, who do you like to hang out with? Like, who would you love to hang out with over the long run? Two, what would you love to be the leader around. And the leader, by the way, like you see, I'm saying I'm making some very strong point of view statements, right? And you agree, you don't agree, that's fine. But that's my point of view, and I'm willing to share it. And I've been doing that. And so, but that's being a leader. You put it out there like that. So that's built from that first level of foundation, the value and life purpose. And you know who you want to work with, around what. And then from there, you can start. I'm an advocate of doing primary market research, putting it out there. I'm actually literally today, I just put a note out on my email and out on social media saying, help wanted. I'm creating a course on building a business aligned with your passion for coaches, speakers, authors, and program leaders. And would you, if you're willing, I'm looking for people who are willing to jump on a quick Zoom for me, 15 to 20 minutes to do some market research. And if you're down for that, PM me like that. But the thing is, I'm going to go talk to them about what are their challenges and frustrations, and what are their aspirations, and how do they learn well, and those sort of things. And then I'm going to take what I learn and turn it into a short, a one-pager description of a program that I'm going to put together. It's built around the topic I'm interested in, but it's what they want. Mm-hmm. And so build that, and then go back to them, to people that are interested, only the people that are interested, and say, hey, let me review this with you. And if you're interested, I'm doing a beta class. I'm doing would you like to be one of the first students? And if they say yes, and say, they know what they would, that whole thing includes the price and stuff. It's like, well, jump, if you want to jump on board, go for it. I really would love to have you. And you find out really quickly whether it's a theoretical, oh, that's interesting, or it's a really, I really would like to do this. Yeah. Because nobody's going to pay if it's not in that second group. And by the way, and if nobody says yes, then you got to go back and do more work. And you keep iterating until you find something that consistently sells. And that's your foundation. And then from there, you could take the people that graduate from that work that are interested in doing more long-term one-on-one work with you. At least this is my MO. This is my game plan. People that want to do for more work one-on-one with me, I have a package for that. And we'll do whatever makes sense for them. But as I work with several of those people, I'll start to see the patterns, and I'll build a group program, a higher end group program. And now I've got this community, and I better like the people I work with, and I better like what I'm working with them about, and have some confidence that I can deliver that with excellence, right?
And that goes back to what you mentioned in this morning's episode. So for those of you that have not yet seen this morning's episode, you have got to go back, because he touched on pieces about this. And he gave more of his personal story with community. You were speaking about the community that we surround ourselves by helps fuel us and support us on our journey, be it a personal community when you're going through trying to recover from divorce, because you went through that, and personal health concerns that you shared that you went through that. But a mastermind is a business community. Those like-minded individuals will give you the fuel that you need, because there are lots of times you'll have conversations with people and they don't understand you unless they have a mindset that is similar to yours, that will give you I know to everybody else, but I'm with you. You sometimes need a cheerleader to just let you know it's going to be okay. I'm with you. And your community, when you're working with these individuals, that's where you help. So from a professional perspective, I love what I do in that arena, but my passion is with those that have gone through my journey. If you have walked through elements of my shoes and I know where the landmines are, I want to help you cross over so that you don't get the shrapnel that I did in my heart and soul. And that is where that passion is, and sitting the day to day, walking in each of those moments and building that foundation. It is that passion that will also, like you were sharing, direct you into what course that you will build. Ah, Eric, thank you for sharing that insight and bringing it
You
back
bet.
together.
You
Is there
bet.
anything else you want to share? Because before we go, I want to make certain that they know what gift you gave. We're going to talk about that in a few moments. But
Okay.
share your thoughts. One last thing.
Okay. It's so I'm just going to say, in terms of how my divorce went, we had gone through some rough times. I guess you could say some come to Jesus times, but we worked our way through it. And one of the things that we built, and I really intentionally worked on this, was a mutual respect. And when it came time for the divorce, she knew that she was the one that initiated, and she knew that it's like it just wasn't working for her anymore. And I wasn't. I was at a point where it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to try to. I'm not here to put shackles on you. Um, and she suggested going through she's a planner, but she suggested going through a mediator, and we worked through all the issues through a mediator, and and came up with a novel approach, by the way, which included that I had the kids for a week, she had the kids for a week, back and forth, and we identified which holidays who would have what, and we had it laid out in a we had where we were, because of the mediator, we were able to work through those things, and then the divorce itself was just a matter of kind of showing up in front of the judge. He says, "Do you agree? Do you agree?" Fine, and signed.
Mhm.
Um,
That is a real quick process.
and that was that cut a lot of the, like, you can build a lot of emotional baggage up in that process, and especially if
Mhm.
it's litigating back and forth.
Yeah.
um, but even though I knew that it's like this is the way it was going to be, um, that didn't stop me from uh, hardly sleeping for a year, and being balled up in a corner and stuff like that. It was like really tough, and like back to identity. And wait a minute, she's the one that she she's a repository of our experiences, and all that kind of stuff that goes on. It was very tough. It took a while for me to figure out who the heck I was.
And here's
So
something I want to add to that because I recently had a couple podcast episodes a little further back where I was talking about I'm no longer a wife. So who am I? I
right.
still have these different labels that have been placed on, but you have to define who you are outside of some circumstances. So I had to remember Tanya and go back to the basics. What's my favorite color? What's my favorite flower? It's not that I didn't know, but when you're in a reset mode, there are times you have to go sort of like it feels like you're in one place, but you're elevating your thoughts each time. And you may feel like I've already gone through the tears and the woes, and I don't feel like going through that again. And I knew this was coming and I understood the impact. But it does not mean if you have to go back again and reset and say, who am I today? What is the definition? Again, I am mother, I am daughter, I am sister, I am wife. I may not have been a wife to him, but those are pieces that Tanya defines for Tanya. So whoever comes into the construct, and I really would love to read your book because I wrote pieces of mine inside of my red alert. And in that, chapter 6 is where I discovered when I am whole, whoever shows up is complementary to my being. So I don't lose me anytime someone else comes in. And we can create, like you shared, and I love that, a new repository of memories.
Yeah.
But the memories that I share with you is just another addition. But Tanya doesn't get lost. So I will have to redefine a little bit more in how I reset. I'm adding this on. What does that look like now in this? It's not that
Right.
you didn't know who you were. It's not that you lost yourself. Because being a husband may still be the element in your being, but being Eric is who you are at the core. That's
Yeah.
the part. If we are clear there, building a foundation personally for ourselves, building a foundation for ourselves professionally,
Yes.
that It's with passion and values sort of interlock.
Well, so so first of all, I'll just warn you, like, because of you and me and the conversation, like it could be 4 hours from now and we're still talking. So I understand that. But what I want to say, what I wanted to share is that one of the things I found myself challenged with was, I mean, I'd been with the same woman for a long time, and she was like the first really big relationship in my life, and so I didn't know who I was. I didn't have a sense anymore of who I was attracted to and what would work and things like that. And rather than taking the social media, like what the world feeds you, I actually went out in the world and was my own tuning fork for things. It was real interesting because first of all, it was like, I mean, it was pretty obvious, but women, not men. Got it. That's me. But then that woman fits, she's like getting close to supermodel or whatever, but it's just like, but this one over here, she may not be the kind that attracts most guys, but this is really, the tuning fork is humming. But I didn't know that in advance. I didn't know that until I walked out in the world and just observed how I was vibrationally responding to my surroundings. And the same with my work and so forth. And what I'm talking about in terms of building a business along with your passion is around that too. It's like an evolutionary sort of strategy of, you try some things and some stuff just dies on the vine and some stuff starts to blossom, and where it starts to connect and grow, you like, okay, that's good. And I would like to continue pursuing that. Or maybe this one's growing, but it's like, nah, it's not for me. But you don't know that until you actually get out there and start interacting in the world. And that's why you do the market research, and that's why you on and it goes. Yeah. And the same with marriage. And like now it's over. Dating, it's been 25 years or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, and I'm not a teenager anymore.
And that's okay, because with the tuning fork piece, that part in my mind's eye is the part where, am I really clear about me? If I know, because this is a thing I had to do, my favorite fruit. Now, I stopped eating my favorite fruit when I was married to my first husband because he was allergic to it. So I had to go back and rediscover, do I still like strawberries? And
Right.
in doing that, when Eric came along, because my current husband's name is Eric.
Oh, there you go.
When Eric came along, I decided that tuning fork part, this is moving towards your passion. I am joy for my favorite fruit. You can be complimentary to this element about me, but I'm clear about this part. And that is where my passion is. That brings me joy. You can enjoy my joy with me.
Yeah.
And if you do not, I will still find joy in it. But now I can see what other parts resonate so that we can create a new dynamic together.
Yes.
That part is where we're aligning the business pieces back and forth. This is, and we can keep going on, but we need to start wrapping this up.
But,
So what I
the
want to
key point to what you said about strawberries is that you put them aside, and then you didn't know until you explored it.
Uh-huh.
And in the exploration, it's like, oh yeah, the spark's still there on that one.
Yep, that part.
Right. But before that, it was uncertain. It wasn't until you actually did the experiment, so to speak.
That is true.
Right.
And that's the piece that we often shy away from. It's okay to experiment. It's okay to try new things. It's okay to do things different. And if you find that it does not work, you are free to change your mind. Let's walk into what you shared this morning in our episode. You gave away this amazing gift to the guests. Tell those that are listening now a little bit more about it.
Well, it's interesting because I told you about the value of market research, and like how I found that was a key to me for. I've created a number of programs out of once I really understood how that worked. So I put together a little infographic about, first it was like, you do the market research, and then you can use that to come up with what your system is and what your offer is, and then you can use that to figure out what you're going to say in terms of social media and webinars and posts and all, a variety of things. And people were saying, well, that's great, but you really should include more detail. And it grew into this little ebook. And then because it was that size, I had to go back and say, yeah, I didn't really mention that first critical step, which is understand your values and life purpose and things like that. And so this walks you through that step by step.
And for those of you that didn't get a chance to see this morning's episode, you can go to his website, superfocusentrepreneur.com/secrets. Scrolling at the bottom of the screen for you, and I'll make certain I put it in the comments as well. But this is a gift that Eric is offering to the audience so that those of you that are looking to feel your passion and have your values align with your entrepreneurial business, you can get the opportunity to let that work for you here. Well, Eric, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for pouring into the audience, expanding the conversation. And for those of you that are looking to see how to go through this, your information will be below so that you can reach out to Eric. Feel free to do so. He's in numerous places as well. And now you don't have to decide if I just have to do a business just to make money. You can align your business with your passion and your values. I'm hoping that this episode has allowed you to get a little more insight about you along the way. Thank you so
Yes.
much for that, Eric. And thank you all for touching base with us. In the
And
meantime,
I have to say, I know you're in the close there, you're wrapping it up, but
yeah,
I gotta say, it's real important. I gotta say, thank you so much for you being you, like, and pulling out the stops and just channeling you. You're creating some awesome stuff here. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So thank you.
I appreciate you joining me on the journey. And I thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time on Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Hood. Take care, everyone. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood walking in my purpose. And I want you to do the same.